And everything that they're saying to us, ABC, CBS, NBC, Time, Newsweek, every place, it's all propaganda to create fear. So that,
well, George, there's no longer any doubt. I mean, if there was a checklist of 30 things that are tyranny, they've double-checked everything. It's now admitted, and this started decades ago, but that almost all TV is government paid for, and they're writing the scripts with all these messages of tyranny. It's
including NPR. And for all my good liberal friends,
it's the worst.
Still listen to NPR. Wake up. It's the worst. Just because they say it with kind of a sweet,
a loving, a soft. It's hypnotizing.
It makes me physically ill to listen to those hypocrites. Physically ill. And I'll tell you what.
Look at Obama expanding all the wars.
Your first movie on this, the Obama deception. You got to underword the word deception, because this guy, even though he's the most incredibly charismatic person who's been on the scene for the last 50 years, it's all about deception, deception, deception. Every single one of his promises, as you have pointed out again and again and again, he's gone 180 degrees apart. And I still see my friends who are, Obama, Obama. And so I say, well, do you support the war? And they kind of shake a little bit, and most of them run off because they know that there's going to be an intelligent discussion, because they're cognitive dissidents. And remember this term, cognitive dissonance, and it's something that we all have, is that we invest our time, energy, or money in a concept, is that when we find out that that concept is not right, psychologically we create barriers and fight against that. And that's what's called having an open mind and listening. And every single point that Obama made on the campaign trail, as you have so eloquently pointed out and so factually pointed out, he's gone 180% against it. He is so far more of what is classically called a fascist than even George Bush. And people say, well, you're just a Republican. And 4 years ago, they were saying, you're just a Democrat. We're neither Democrat or Republican. We are American citizens who believe in the Constitution. This is not a question of right or wrong, right or left. It's a question of right or wrong. Do we want freedom? Do we want truth? Do we want a better America? Or are we going to be asleep?
Well, the American people have not been taught in the last 30, 40 years what tyranny is. And so they're told, here's freedom, but it's really tyranny. And then they tell the public, that those of us that are for freedom, that we're the bad ones. I mean, I've had Salon and all 6 of George Soros's big publications, and the New Republic and the ADL and CBS and the Jerusalem Post, all in the last day come out and say, no longer are they just ignoring me or making fun of me or just attacking me. They're now saying, we got to shut this guy up. He's dangerous. And the reason they're now saying this is they're watching our growth curve.
Yeah, and the thing...
But it's going straight up. And I say to them, I am trying to be loving. I know they're wrong. I know they're abusive. I know they're hurting my country. I know they're involved in evil. And I'm telling them now, and I'm going to look at them right now and tell them, you're in the wrong. You know you're bad. You know you're lying. You know you're using duplicity. You know the New World Order's real. I mean, the ADL and CBS wrote articles saying, I'm this big liar. I say they're setting up a world government. I mean, it's all over the news. Earlier on the show, I went over a bunch of mainstream. I mean, look at this. Financial Times of London. This is one of thousands in the last year.
Yes.
And now for world government. And this article says, we've lied to you for your own good. We're taking over. It's authoritarian. These are quotes. Here's another one. In here, I've got the New York Times, Ban Ki-moon, coming out and calling for world government and world taxes. But this is what I'm saying, George. Mm-hmm. What is the ADL and CBS doing? What is Salon doing when they come out and say it's a conspiracy theory, there's no mercury in the shots when the insert says it? What are they doing when they say there's no world government when it's simultaneously being announced by mainstream media as a good thing? It's almost like they want to destroy themselves. I mean, do they understand, or are they so arrogant and they think it's 20 years ago and people just bought whatever they said?
Well, it's ad hominem. What they're trying to do is they're trying to go after you as a person. And I know you. And for people who listen to Alex for the first time, and we've all gone through our Alex initiation, Alex rants and raves, and he shouts and he raises his voice. And so many people say, I can't stand, he's just too intense. And I just say, listen to him for a week. And kind of listen.
Well, I don't want to talk about me, but
listen to what I'm saying, because this is important. And Alex not only is about 98% of what he's saying, if not 100%, right on accurate, that you won't get on CBS or NBC or whatever, which is information you need to know. But he also has a heart of gold. As gruff and as grump as he sounds, he's a great guy. And what's more important is that for all the time I had my television show, I would invite hundreds of city officials, newscasters, people to come in and not debate, but just have a discussion about this. And I know you've done the same thing. And you would invite the top newscasters of CBS, NBC, of the ADL to come in here and just have a discussion and share back and forth. But they won't do it. They won't come and have an honest
They have
discussion.
to dehumanize you.
And so instead of, as human beings, talking about our point of view and
they want to separate everybody.
Of course.
And it's all about, that's why Chris Matthews and the folks on CNN, on not just MSNBC, they have that talking point that if you say, I don't want socialist health care, they go, why are you a racist?
Yes.
Obviously, it's illogical. It has nothing to do with that. They are invoking racism. They are the racists. They are the people using it as a political weapon.
And I'm sure that you would invite Chris or any of these.
We have. We've called them all.
You'd say, just come on down. Look, we're just going to, and we don't even have to debate. You can have your say. I'll have my say. No fighting back and forth. And let the people decide. But you know what? You've been doing this for years and years and years, and they won't do it. And because they've got something to hide. They've got something to hide. And so, folks who are listening, the people who are listening to this message right now, you are the power. If each and every one of you today can go out and talk to one person about this and plant some seeds.
Well, tell them about Gandhi, because he has those quotes. He went around for 20 years just teaching people they had power, and then suddenly it all imploded.
Yeah, and I go to India almost every year, and I study in India, and Mahatma Gandhi is I've been to his home. I've read him for years and years and years. And he was a very, very bright man. He went to Oxford. He got his law degree. He went down to South Africa. He was very wealthy down there. But when he came back to India, there's about 350 million people living in India and about 300,000 British. And the British were in complete control of the Indian subcontinent, which at that time also included the nations of Pakistan,
Kashmir,
and Kashmir and the whole area. And 300,000 people were the sahibs of the whole nation because they had convinced the intellect, not the intellect, but the minds of the Indian people that they were beneath them and that the English were more powerful. And Gandhi came back and he realized that this was a fight for the minds and the hearts of the Indian people. And so he showed through example, through love, through his dedication, and he would go to village, and the most important thing he said is that the seed of God is in the heart of every man, woman, and child, and that he was there to show through example that we could nurture the seed and that we were divine, sovereign beings, whether we were white, black, Asian. And when he got the Indian people to understand that they had value, that they had intellect, that they had rights, and his main thing was to get the British out still as friends. He didn't see them as enemies. He saw them as opponents and he realized that they had wrong thinking. And he did this through hard work and through peace. And you know what, folks? We can't beat the Illuminati right now with guns. We've got to do it with intellect.
They want to make it a physical fight.
Yes.
Now, at the same time, we should defend ourselves.
Of course.
And Gandhi had something to say about that.
And absolutely, Gandhi was no coward. Gandhi was a man.
Well, he let him beat him up all the time.
He was a man's man, but he would say that it's better for a person to go to war and fight and die for their country than to be a coward and hide under the banner of nonviolent civil disobedience.
Well, you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, know when to run.
Yes.
You got to know when to play your cards. I mean, at points where there's police and they're just peacefully protesting,
yes.
let them beat them up in front of people.
And
because that then shows people, but at the same time, if they're rounding up people in villages, taking them to FEMA camps, you got to defend yourself.
Absolutely. And for example, when what was going on in Russia was happening in the Ukraine, when Stalin was just decimating the Ukraine, Gandhi was very clear that it was important for those people to stand up and fight. He was no coward.